Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at some very spicy battles in the Mountain Cup featuring Shadow Metagross. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now Metagross typically seen in the Master League, but this trainer is using it as a glass cannon in the Mountain Cup to absolutely destroy FROSLASS, because almost nothing in this meta wants to take a Shadow Meteor Mash. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Shadow Metagross in action in the Mountain Cup. Hopping to the first match, picking up a very positive lead, Gligar into a Scavalier. Opponent is going to save switch into FROSLASS, and it's time for Shadow Metagross. Look at the bullet punches go. FROSLASS only going to make it to one move. They're going to fire off the Shadow Ball. Metagross commits the shield, farms all the way down, and now has so much energy. In comes a Scavalier, firing off the resisted Meteor Mash bait and grabs a shield from the Escav. Shadow Metagross farming up, going straight for the Meteor Mash here. Now this is resisted damage, but it still almost KOs the Escav. You have got to be kidding me. This drill run is going to KO, and now in comes Empoleon in the back. Opponent is running Wall Rain. Wall Rain is a bit scary now that Metagross has been taken out. Going to fire off the Drill Peck. Drill Peck does get the final shield. This is tough. They have enough for the Earthquake here. Empoleon calls up bait. It's an Earthquake, and now it's all up to Gligar to win this game. Gligar farming up. Gligar is running Dig, and Dig does get same type attack bonus here. Icicle Spear gets the shield, makes it to the Dig. Is this going to be enough to KO the Wall Rain? Dig KOs the Wall Rain. Escav gets farmed down, and that is a good game. Picking up a neutral lead in the next match, Gligar into Metagross. With a Metagross in the back, definitely going to want to stay in. Opponent safe switches into a Shadow Lapras. This Lapras, interestingly enough, running Ice Shard, not running Water Gun. So Empoleon does have a pretty nice matchup here. Empoleon goes for the Drill Peck and gets a shield from the Lapras. Lapras has farmed up a decent amount of energy here, goes for the Skull Bash, and that gets shielded by the Empoleon. Empoleon farming up here, quite a bit of energy. Opponent going to be firing off a charge move. This is not enough for another Skull Bash. That's just going to be a Surf. Empoleon able to tank it, and Empoleon is now at the back-to-back Drill Pecks and wins CMP over the Lapras. Drill Peck lands Lapras with a sliver of HP, able to hang on and make it to one final Surf. Empoleon able to hang on as well and leave with a charge move loaded. Opponent sends in Metagross. Metagross going to have to shield the Hydro Cannon as the Incinerate gets the KO. Back in comes Gligar. They do have enough for the Overheat here, choosing to let this through. It's the Overheat. Gligar hangs on. It's a simultaneous switch. Shadow Metagross into FROSLASS, and Shadow Metagross is about to absolutely eat in this endgame. Metagross looking to farm all the way down, bring back in Metagross. Metagross met with a Shadow Earthquake. It gets one shot, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a terrible lead, Gligar into Empoleon. Empoleon definitely a core breaker for this team. We're going to see a save switch into the mirror, and the opponent is not switching out. So it seems like the opponent may be weak to an Empoleon themselves in the back. Hydro Cannon is going to be shielded. Opponent continuing to stay in, so they clearly do not have a good response to Empoleon in the back. Going for the Hydro Cannon here. This will get the opponent low, so they will commit the shield. Opponent able to reach Hydro Cannon number 2. Hydro Cannon lands. Empoleon able to hang on and make it to one final Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon is going to land, and the opponent is barely able to win switch. In comes Shadow Metagross, able to farm down and get an energy lead. Opponent has Skarmory in the back, so opponent running a lot of core breakers to this team. Now this is going to be resisted damage, but let's see the Meteor Mash. That is going to grab a shield from the opponent. They have a lot of energy. Shadow Metagross committing the shield. It's a Sky Attack from the Skarmory. Metagross farming up, switching into Gligar, tried to make a catch in the back. The opponent is running FROSLASS, so now we see why they stayed in. Their backline gets absolutely torn to shreds by Empoleon. FROSLASS fires off the Avalanche, winning CMP over the Gligar. Avalanche is going to KO. In comes the Shadow Metagross. Metagross gets the farm down, leaves with back-to-back Meteor Mashes. This is CMP, which means this Meteor Mash has to KO. Meteor Mash barely does not with a sliver of HP. Skarmory survives, takes down the Metagross, and that's game over. The tough leads continue in the next match. Gligar into Lapras. This is going to be tough. They're running Water Gun as well. In comes Empoleon. Empoleon will be answered with Escavalier. Now, Empoleon, with an energy lead, can put up a ferocious fight against Escav, able to grab a shield, and if the Escav tries to farm down, Empoleon is able to get it below 25% health. And now you can descend in the Gligar. Gligar is going to be resisting whatever they throw here. They're going to be firing off the Mega Horn. Gligar tanks it, gets the farm down, and leaves with some energy. Firing off the Night Slash here into the Lapras as the Lapras is brought back onto the field. Night Slash not going to do a lot of damage. In comes the Shadow Metagross. These Water Guns tearing through the Metagross. Metagross makes it to the Meteor Mash. This Meteor Mash will hit for massive neutral damage. Down goes Lapras. In the back, they have a FROSLASS, and it's game over for this FROSLASS. FROSLASS is going to get one shield farm down by the Shadow Metagross, and that is a good game. Picking up a pretty nice lead in the next match, Gligar into Diggersby. Diggersby, if it's not running Hyper Beam, does not have a great matchup here, as it's forced to go for non-stab Fire Punches. But the fact that they're staying in this lead makes me think that they're probably weak to Gligar somewhere in the back. Maybe they have something like an Escavalier, so it's probably going to be worth safe switching out at some point to see if you can bait out any potential Escav. Dig is able to land, that deals quite a bit of damage, and Diggersby is going to start unleashing these Fire Punches, going for a Fire Punch, and they're already at another. Gligar, again, doesn't have to shield. Diggersby has no fast move pressure in this matchup, farming up, switch, and a beautiful catch, absorbing the Fire Punch onto Empoleon. Fire Punch not going to do a lot, and they do have the Escav. There it is, Escav firing off a charge move here, not wanting to take a Hydro Cannon, but Empoleon more than willing to trade shields in this matchup. Empoleon is going to be firing off the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon gets no shielded, opponent fully sacrificing the Escavalier and saving 2 shields for whatever they have in the back, which is a FROSLASS. FROSLASS looking for the farm down. They decide against it. They're going to fire off an Avalanche to ensure they don't tank a Hydro Cannon, but that's bad news for them. They have 2 shields, and they're going to die with 2 shields here, as Shadow Metagross is not going to let their remaining Pokemon shield a move. In comes the Diggersby, and we get the catch onto the Gligar. What a beautiful play. Gligar is going to get the farm down. They can farm down with the FROSLASS. FROSLASS doesn't have a move, and Shadow Metagross strikes again. Moving into the next match, picking up a terrible lead, Gligar into a shiny Drip Lapras. We're going to need to see an immediate save switch out of here. In comes Empoleon, and Empoleon is going to be answered by Escavalier. Escavalier, of course, will have to give up a shield in this matchup as Hydro Cannon hits incredibly hard. Hydro Cannon gets the shield. Escav tanking a lot of damage from the waterfalls. They get worried, and they're going to fire off a charge move. That is quite nice, as this means that Gligar doesn't have the shield, can fully farm down, and should be able to leave with close to a dig to threaten the Lapras when it gets brought back in. Escav is only going to be able to make it to 1 move here. They are running Mega Horn, and that's going to hit for some resisted damage. Gligar gets the farm down, leaves with the dig loaded to fire at the Lapras. Opponent is waiting their timer here. Opponent sends in Gliscor, but a blind dig was thrown. Oh, that is very unfortunate. That does absolutely nothing. In comes the Shadow Metagross, but Metagross has to deal with a very healthy Gliscor. Gliscor is running Sand Tomb as well. You have got to be kidding me. Metagross is going to win CMP over the Gliscor here, firing off the Meteor Mash. Meteor Mash gets the shield as Gliscor looking to grab the final shield here. Gliscor goes for another Sand Doom. In comes the Lapras. These Water Guns tearing through the Metagross, and Metagross unfortunately does get outpaced. Surf KOs the Metagross. In comes the Gligar, but Gligar does not have enough HP, and that's game over. Picking up a fairly neutral lead in the next match, Gligar into Shadow Mawile. We'll have to see the fast move on the Mawile. They're going to save switch into Empoleon, and an opposing Empoleon with energy is very tricky for this team. We're going to see a switch into the mirror and an immediate shield, but being down 4 waterfalls in a mirror honestly makes things very, very difficult. Firing off the Hydro Cannon here, basically just hoping the opponent decides to let it through, and they do. This means switch can be kept, which is very, very important. You do not want the Shadow Metagross going up against the Fire Fang user. Empoleon gets the farm down. Opponent is going to send in the Mawile, and true to form, they are running Fire Fang. Hydro Cannon fired, gets no shielded as the opponent is putting their full faith into whatever they have in the back. From here, you can probably just wing attack down with the Gligar. Aggressive switch into the Metagross. It's a FROSLASS in the back, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a fairly neutral lead, Gligar into Magcargo. Definitely nice to not have Magcargo stuck against the Metagross. Opponent banks an overheat, save switches into Wall Rain, and honestly, the better switch in here was probably the Shadow Metagross, as Shadow Metagross can actually put in some pretty nice work against Wall Rain, whereas Empoleon, unfortunately, basically just outright loses to it. Firing off the Drill Peck, that's going to be shielded by the opponent. Opponent baited, they are so far ahead in terms of energy. Decision time here for the Empoleon, lets it through, and the Earthquake lands. In comes the Shadow Metagross. Metagross farming up energy here. Opponent, I'm not sure if they're quite at the Earthquake here. It is just an Icicle Spear. Metagross expends the final shield. Metagross gets the farm down. Magcargo does have the overheat banked, and we see the catching the overheat onto the Gligar. That is the overheat that nearly KOs, and able to reach the dig. This will hit for double super effective damage if it lands, which it does. Bye-bye, Magcargo. In the back is the FROSLASS, and FROSLASS just does not have enough energy to outpace the Metagross. Meteor Mash number 1 gets the shield, and Meteor Mash 2 gets the KO. Down goes FROSLASS, and that's game over. Picking up a very tough lead in the next match, Gligar into FROSLASS. Thankfully, 2 much better responses in the back. We're going to see a save switch into Empoleon. Empoleon answered by a Razor Leaf Shadow Abomasnow. Unfortunately, these Razor Leafs are tearing through the Empoleon. Empoleon able to grab a shield with a Drill Peck, but Abomasnow fully able to Razor Leaf down and leave with a lot of energy. In comes Gligar. Gligar farming up. Unfortunately, will have to shield the double super effective Weather Balls. We see the first shield being deployed by the Gligar. Gligar looking for the farm down. Gligar double shielding, but it knows it can leave with a ton of energy here to threaten the FROSLASS if that's what the opponent decides to bring in. They are going to bring in the FROSLASS. We see the Night Slash being deployed. Night Slash able to land, going for Night Slash number 2 onto the FROSLASS. Is FROSLASS going to expend a shield? Yes, they are. Gligar farming up. Gligar not able to throw a move, as FROSLASS will go for the Avalanche, but this sets up Shadow Metagross in the Zero Shield. Opponent has a Diggersby in the back, and unfortunately I think this is going to be game over. Shadow Meteor Mash hits incredibly hard, but XL Diggersby is very tanky, able to absorb the damage, and that's a good game. Hopping to the final match, and we see the same leads as last game, Gligar into FROSLASS. As before, immediate save switch into Empoleon. Opponent farms up energy on FROSLASS before they switch, and they've now given Empoleon a pretty significant energy head start, and that's going to allow Empoleon to be a nuisance in this matchup versus Quagsire. Empoleon already able to force a shield. Empoleon taking full advantage of the energy lead, committing a shield in return, and looking to either grab switch or the final shield from the opponent. Firing off Hydro Cannon number 2 here. Hydro Cannon is going to be shielded, and with all shields down, honestly, I like this call. You just save the shield for Shadow Metagross, and let's see what Shadow Metagross can do. In comes Gligar. Gligar going to be able to absorb the Stone Edge here, and then do you aggressive switch Metagross here? That's exactly what's going to happen. In comes the Metagross. Opponent is going to save it for later. In the back, they have Diggersby. Unfortunately, Diggersby not what Shadow Metagross was hoping to see in the back, as Metagross is going to be able to deal a ton of damage with Meteor Mash, but will not be able to make it to a second before Fire Punch number 2 is reached. That gets the Diggersby low. Diggersby immediately going for the Fire Punch, but the thing is, that Diggersby is switch locked. This sets up Gligar to potentially win the game, as Gligar is now going to attempt an incredibly aggressive wing attack farm down. The goal is farm down, leave with double Night Slash, and as long as you avoid a catch onto the Quagsire, the game should be won. In comes the FROSLASS. FROSLASS going to be hit with Night Slash number 1. That's going to land waits a turn to avoid a catch. What a beautiful play. Night Slash #2 deployed. That gets the FROSLASS low, gets the farm down. All that's left is the Quag, and with 1 HP remaining, Gligar gets the win. All in all, Shadow Metagross, while it's definitely more of a pick for fun than for climbing, proved that if opponents are not prepared for it, it can absolutely take over games. The shadow damage plus its attack stat, plus one of the best charge moves in the game in Meteor Mash, combining that with Earthquake, this thing can be an absolute threat in shields down situations. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.